That was a badass speech you gave, Tyler. That was cool. That was a badass speech you gave right.
All from the heart, man.
That was
All from the heart.
that was that was badass. That was badass. All right, but that will lead us right into our next topic, which has been kind of a discussion point this week. And does NASCAR need to take a look at changing overtime, aka the green, white, checkered finish? And I think we've all had moments where we hate the green, white, checkered finish. I think we've all had moments where it's like, thank God the caution came out. I think we've all had moments like that. Just like Tyler was just saying, we were all kind of hoping a caution to come out and force a green white checkered when Jesse Love was about to win the championship. So I think we've all kind of had moments where we want a green white checkered finish. But I think it's kind of came to a realization to a lot of people, including myself, that maybe the current way we are doing the overtime system isn't the right way. Should we even do the overtime system at all? A lot of people have been pointing out this week, if we had an overtime system back in 1998, Dale Earnhardt probably wouldn't have won the Daytona 500, because a lot of people forget that that race ended under caution. Who knows who would have won that race if we had a green white checkered finish? Maybe Dale Earnhardt would have never had a Daytona 500, just how Kyle Busch doesn't have a Daytona 500. He led at the 500th mile in the 2023 edition. He didn't win. Denny Hamlin would have won the championship on Sunday. He didn't win. And so it's definitely played its course in a weird way at this point. And me personally, I don't like a race finishing under caution. So I would like the overtime to stay in place, but I personally would like to change it up a little bit. That's me personally, and I forget who said it, so my apologies if they end up seeing this. But I saw somebody on Twitter give a good rule change for the overtime system that I personally really like. And it's when there is a caution to the point where it would force overtime past the full length schedule of the race, they have one overtime session. And instead of it being a 2-lap shootout, they decide to throw the red flag out, bring everybody on to pit road, have it kind of be how they do these ARCA cautions when they have to change tires. They bring everybody onto pit road, throw the red flag out, everybody can change tires, do whatever adjustments they want to do, put fuel in or whatever. They got like 5 minutes, and that builds up the fans in the stands, that builds up the TV people, that builds up everybody and lets them kind of build up this finish here. And instead of a 2-lap finish, it's a 10-lap shootout to end the race. I love that idea. Like I said, I forget who came up with that, so my apologies. But I freaking love that idea. Instead of doing a green white checkered finish, you get one overtime session, if you will. And it also takes out a 2-tire strategy to win the race on a green white checkered finish, if you will. I personally would be down for that. I don't know how y'all would feel. I don't know if you don't want any. I assume that both Tyler and Cory might not even want changes to the overtime system. I've kind of been on the fence about it for a long time. Overall, I'd probably say I've leaned towards I like it, just because I don't like the race ending under caution. But them extending it in maybe a different way, I haven't really even thought of before until this guy brought it up. And I want to get both y'all's thoughts on not just the idea that this guy came up with on Twitter that I just said, but maybe do you have a different way the overtime you'd like to see? Do you not want to see overtime at all? Do you want to keep it the way it is? I guess we'll start with Tyler here, and I think Tyler, from what he previously said fuck overtime, right? Is that your analysis?
Pretty much. I mean, like, I'm fine with overtime if we can find a way to make it to where it's not a gimmick, right? Like, I don't know, a 10-lap shootout makes sense. Add 10 laps back on or whatever of your caution laps. I also don't think caution laps should count. So
We would have really
there's like
long
a
races at
tat
some
like a
points.
we would, but like at some that then it's a long race. Like, I don't care.
Bristol, a
I'm there to
thousand
watch a
laps.
race. I don't give a shit how long. Sure, send it. Let's go. But like, I don't know, like, maybe if it's Bristol, so you add that's when you do a like something like that where it's like add 10 laps at the end of the race, like whatever, because we spent half of it under caution anyway. Like, I don't know, that makes sense. But a green white checkered, I've never been a fan of. You determine entirely too much off of that.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. I like I said, the green white checker definitely makes it entertaining at times, but sometimes it just takes away really big storyline. Sometimes it just makes the end of these races sometimes a shit show. Like the unlimited green white checkered. Sometimes we'll get like six of them back to back to back. It's happened at Martinsville in the Xfinity series a couple of times. But Corey, I want to get your
Yeah,
thoughts on this.
never in an Infinity.
Never in Xfinity.
Uh,
Corey, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think we got to keep it. I just think they can. I'm up for getting rid of it in the championship race. Like I don't think the championship race should be decided on like how it was, on Sunday. I think that would be one way to do it. I think any call. There's some ways. I'm for it because we've gotten so many awesome, and just this year, just the last 2 years, so many amazing highlight finishes that have made like honestly, I think live TV like highlights, like the Larson and Busher, that was in overtime. Chase Elliott's win this year, like a few weeks ago, that was in overtime. Like it's created so many amazing finishes that we love. Is it a gimmick? Yeah, I guess whatever. But like I'm more for a championship not being decided how it was. That I think it may get rid of it in the championship race, or if you're gonna do it, you don't count caution laps if a caution happens in the last 10 laps or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be, oh, we're doing 2 more laps. I don't know. Scheduled distance in a way. There's certain things, but I'm for it. I think it's created too much amazing moments, especially with this car when we already struggle with it not passing and all this other stuff. You're just gonna get so like you're talking about viewership and personalities and all this shit you want to start happening. You get rid of green white checkers, dude. No, I just feel like you're gonna make it worse. I get the point. The points are valid, but you're gonna take another step back. That this car is already taking us like 10 steps back. So, I know that's my opinion. I think green white checkers have a spot in the sport right now. I know a traditional racing fan is going to disagree like motherfucker, but I don't know. I feel like there's a way they can do it. I just think wholeheartedly there shouldn't be green white checkers in the championship race. That's what I would say. Like yes, Sunday was dirty. That I didn't like that. It should have ended. Then maybe a one lap because there was one lap to go. But yeah, I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it sounds like we won't have a championship race next year. So I like one of the ideas you kind of had where within a certain amount of laps from the finish, maybe don't count caution laps. I guess I'd be okay with that. Maybe take green white checkers out of the crown jewels, but then you're having different rules and different races. It kind of just muddies the water even more. So I don't know. I would like an overtime system to stay in place, but I personally just don't like the 2 lap shootout because then it makes it almost like especially with this version of car. In the old version of car, what we had at Phoenix on Sunday wouldn't have happened. In the old version of the car, it just wouldn't have happened. You would have saw what happened with Corey Heim on Friday night. That's what would have happened on Sunday. Denny Hamlin would have won the race if it's mainly because of this generation of car. Honestly, I think that's, now that I really think about it, I think that's probably the thing that's really soured me on the green white checkered, because it takes really all skill out of it. It's just really all about strategy once there's a green white checkered at the end of some of these races, which I'm for strategy. I'm all for strategy, but strategy just to get track position with 2 laps left, it makes it entertaining. But then when you really think about it, it's like, all right, that was kind of Mickey Mouse. It's like I felt like at the end of that race with Hamlin and Larson end up getting the championship and everything that happened there. It felt like the Steelers were up by 30 points, and then they blew the final whistle on the Browns, and then they're like, "All right, I know it was a 30-point gap, but we're going to overtime." And then the overtime started, and the way that overtime started was we had Caleb Johnson back there returning kicks again for the Steelers, and we ended up having a safety, and that's how we lost. That's how we lost the game, even though we were up 30 points when the final whistle blew. And it's just stuff like that, like, because Hamlin was dominating. Hamlin was pure domination, domination, just whooping their ass. And just to have that happen was wild. I personally want them to keep overtime though, so that's why it's hard for me. I want them to keep overtime. I just don't like the 2-lap shootout, and because at that point with this generation of car, it's so hard to pass, so hard to really do anything. It's hard to even manipulate somebody from behind. It's just hard to do any of that stuff unless you completely send them. Then we end up just having everybody wreck. Then we're just having wreck after wreck after wreck after wreck. So I don't know. I think they need to change something. I do like that guy's idea of 10 laps and then if everybody wants to come down pit lane and change 4 tires, there'll be no change in the lineup. Maybe a little add on for that. If you want to stay out and not take tires, then you can jump to the front if you want. But that's if you don't want to take any tires or any fuel. You got to stay out of pit road completely. So I don't know.
Honestly,
what's up?
Just change the format and leave green, white, checkers. And then once the new format's announced, just let it ride. And if a moment like this happens again where people are 1 point away, the format's going to change everything, in my opinion. It's not going to be like this. No, we're not going to be talking about green, white, checkers the way we are when it's not a one race thing. When it's not, that one caution changed the championship. I feel like it's, that's my opinion. I just change the format. We can't change them all at once.
I'd agree. I would say that's not a bad point either. Like I said, I'm still very much on the fence, but at the same time, I'm leaning towards one way because especially with this generation of car, I guess when it comes to Xfinity and trucks, I don't have nearly as much of a problem with it because usually they're going to handle themselves. One thing I definitely want them to change is the unlimited green, white, checkers. We didn't end up seeing a problem with that at Phoenix Raceway, and I want a race to end under green. And if you ask Kyle or Larry, whatever, from like 5-10 years ago, what he wanted, I would say no matter how many times, re-rack them and keep them going. But back then, I would say I was more on the entertainment, and it was still a brand new gimmick at that point. But at this point, it's like a lot of drivers are getting wins taken. Like I always think back to, was it Nashville when we had that epic finish with Larson and Busher? I'm pretty sure that was Nashville. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Nashville when that happened. We almost had
Kansas.
Oh, Kansas. My mistake. But we almost had what? We almost had like Zane Smith win that race, if I remember correctly. We almost had Zane. Nothing against Zane Smith, but that was before Zane Smith really turned the corner. Zane Smith was like, at that point last year, was like what, like 32nd in points. He almost won that race because of how many cautions we had. We had like 7 cautions or 6 cautions. We had people running out of gas and stuff, and we had all these green, white, checkered finishes. It was entertaining, but every other motorsport in the world was probably laughing at us at that point. So one thing that they definitely need to change is the unlimited green, white, checkers. And I personally would like for them to take away the 2-lap shootout. But if it was still a green, white, checkered next year, as long as it wasn't unlimited attempts, I would be okay with it. But it's not my preference, I would say. But it's definitely gotten brought up this week with what you're saying, Cory, because of what happened on Sunday. That's why it's been a really big talking point. And I agree that's probably one of the only reasons why it's became a very big talking point over this week, I would say. And I think a lot of people will probably get over it if they keep it, just like myself. I'll probably get over it if they keep it, unless something bad happens again, unless we get like caution after caution again or something crazy, But let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about the current overtime, green, white, checkered, whatever you want to call it? Do you think it should change? You think it should be taken away? You think it should stay completely the same? I think we gave 3 different opinions. Tyler wants it just gone. I want it changed, and Cory's fine with the way it is. So let me know your thoughts in the comments.